It's December, and the holidays are right around the corner. And I know, you are exhausted, burnt out, and counting the moments till your vacation begins. But do you know what to do on your time off to regain your energy and boost your stamina? Luckily, Dr. Naomi Hall returns to Legendary Educator to give us her expert tips on what to do over the holiday season. She goes through everything from diet to sleep, and even what things to avoid on your days off. This week on Legendary Educator, how to relax and re-energize during the holiday season. Hello teachers from around the world, and welcome to Legendary Educator, the podcast that helps you improve your performance in the classroom and have more engaged and motivated students. My name is Ramis Takawi. I'm a teacher and instructional coach, and I created this podcast because I'm passionate about education and about students achieving their highest potential. Before we begin, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any future episodes as they drop. All right, let's get to know our special guest today.
Hi, my name is Naomi. My students used to call me Dr. Hall. I was a science teacher, also an administrator for a little bit. I currently run a business for educators to help with stress and burnout. My favorite teachers growing up, I actually had two. They were Mr. Hansel and Mr. Flint, and they were my high school science teachers. And I became a science teacher mostly because of them and the passion that they had for teaching for their students and the way they invested in us and the time that they spent just investing in me as an individual and helping me choose my career path and helping me with that decision. I loved that they took time for us and that we were more than just students to them. So they were my favorite teachers.
This is a pattern I've been seeing. As I'm asking more and more teachers who their favorite teacher was, it's usually the teacher who taught, what they're teaching right now. Mm-hmm. Right. So I spoke to my music teacher, and surprise, surprise, his favorite teacher was his music teacher. And yeah, it's a pattern I'm noticing. My favorite teacher was my history teacher. Mm-hmm. Of course, I became a history teacher. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
As usual, let's begin with your origin story. How did you become a teacher? And then how did you end your teaching career or retire from your teaching career and become a coach?
Sure. I've kind of had an interesting journey through my career.
It usually
I started teaching right out of college. I actually graduated a semester early. I started substitute teaching that winter, went right into full-time teaching in the fall. I taught at a small Christian school, so I taught a lot. Science, math, computer, junior high choir. Loved it. Taught there for about 9 years, I think it was. I was laid off due to budget cuts, which was quite a struggle for me because it was a time when budgets were cut everywhere. So it was really hard when you have a master's degree and 9 years of experience. So I had a detour and spent a year working in a pharmacy as a pharmacy tech, thinking maybe I might switch career paths. And that was a definite confirmation for me that pharmacy is not my path. I was like, no. So I got back into education, and I worked as an assistant principal in a K-8 school, pre-K to 8. So my span has been like pre-K to high school, because I was doing middle school and high school when I started. And I loved that, but just not the right fit for me. Very unhealthy situation. I did what I could, and I had to choose to leave, basically, which was rough. Can
I ask you why you chose that?
I didn't really have many options of other positions I could work in that school. And the situation was very toxic. I was
Mm-mm.
working under people who were undermining me. Tried to address it and go through the
Mhm.
proper channels and everything, and I knew that the situation wasn't going to change.
Sure.
So it was kind of a mirror them situation, and I was the newbie in
Yeah.
the school.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just
I'm pretty sure most teachers have sort of faced this, scenario
Mhm.
before. Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So
Mm.
I just said I can't do this, and
Mhm.
I chose to leave without having my next step ready,
Right.
which is a little scary. But I was able to find a job for the next fall, go back to teaching, back to my roots, and really find healing again,
Mm.
find a home, the respect, all of that, and grow again as an educator. I earned my doctorate in educational leadership during that time because I knew I wanted to continue to grow and to
Mhm.
move and get into administration again, in a different situation. So it was just such a healing opportunity
Mm.
there with the people that I was with and their support for me. I grew, I got my doctorate, I stepped up in leadership, but it just kind of came to the point where I couldn't go any farther. I could
Mm.
only get so far. And I kept trying and it just didn't work. I took some interim positions there, different things. So I looked other places. And for a few years, it took me a while. I looked for a few years and I really just wanted, my aspirations were like assistant principal. I was like, all I want, like, I'm happy with that.
Mm. Mhm.
But curriculum coordinator positions started opening up. And I was like, there's a reason I didn't get my doctorate in curriculum instruction. But
Mm.
uh, I decided to go ahead and apply for them. And I got a position in a K-8 district as the district curriculum coordinator. And it actually was a fantastic change for me. It
Mm.
was really good, helped me to grow in different ways and in leadership and that. And loved it, actually. I was kind of surprised. Working on, curriculum adoption, choosing a curriculum, all of that, getting to know all of the teachers and all of the subjects. I really, really enjoyed the position. But April came and my review came
Mm.
and the we're not renewing you
Oh
came.
no. Mm.
And I was like, pardon me?
Mm.
Yeah, so it was totally out of the blue. Nothing had happened to cause it.
Mm.
So I was like, okay. So I started looking again, trying to decide where I wanted to go. And when I had gotten this position, I knew like my plan was to be there for a while, but I
Mm.
also knew there weren't a whole lot of other options for me to continue to move up because I'm smart enough to know that I don't want to be a superintendent.
Right.
Like,
Mm.
no, thank you. Uh, and there weren't many options beyond that other than assistant superintendent. And I was like, I don't know, not, and I don't know that I want that either. So I already had that in my mind of like, all right, I don't know what my next step is. And I'm one of those people that like the driven people that always have your next step, next goal, next
Right.
thing you're going to
Mhm.
achieve. And I was like, I don't know what that is. So when this happened, a friend called and she said, listen, if you start your business now, we'll support you. And I've had that in the back
Mm.
of my mind for a couple of years because it had taken
Okay.
me a while to find another position. And I was like, oh, I guess I need to take that seriously. And nothing really opened up. I wasn't able to get any interviews, anything. And so I was like, okay, well, what would I do for a business? I'm an educator. Like that is who I am to the core. I took
Mhm.
my year out of education and it wasn't for me. So I started thinking about, I was like, the recovering educator, that is who I am. Like I've had great highs in education, but I've
Mm.
had some really low lows in education as well. And I've been burnt out. And the state of education right now, teachers, educators, administrators are just so stressed. So
Mm.
many are becoming burnt out. I was like, listen, I need to take what I've learned in caring for myself and working through being burnt by the politics of education a couple of times,
Mm.
and being burnt out, having dealt with chronic illness myself while working, and take all those things and help educators so that they can find the resources and the answers and the support a whole lot faster than I did and find it at a fraction of the price that I
Mm.
did, because I had to go through so many different routes in that. And so I said, that's why I would start my business. And that's why it's called the Recovering Educator, is really, that's who I am. I'm a recovering educator. And I still, the practices that I share and teach educators, I still have to apply now as I run my own business and try to keep myself balanced and keep from burning out.
It is December, and the winter holidays is just around the corner. And with that is an opportunity to unwind and recharge and regenerate. But not everybody knows how to do that. And so today, very specifically, and I guess to the point, what should teachers do to recharge, unwind, and really take advantage of their days off over the winter holidays?
There's a lot to that, but I would say the first thing is say no.
Oh, say no.
Yeah, say no a
Elaborate.
lot.
Elaborate on that.
There's so much that you want to do on vacation, on break. There's so many people you want to see, different events going on, all of that. And it can just absolutely fill your calendar and make your break even more stressful and overwhelming than actually being at work. You know how people are like, oh, I need a vacation from my vacation.
Yes.
You've got to say no and decide what is it that you want to do. And maybe even make a list with your family of what are the things that we'd be really sad if we didn't do these. Like, what are the things that if we missed them, that would be like, we'd be really bummed out about it. And make that list, and you'll be kind of surprised what your kids put on that list. You'll be surprised at maybe what your spouse puts on that list, that they're actually really simple things. Like maybe it's putting on our PJs, grabbing some hot chocolate, and going for a drive to see all of the Christmas lights. Like they're not going to be expensive things most of the time. But when you make that list, you can then prioritize your calendar just like you do in the classroom. In the classroom, you're like, we have to get A, B, and C done today. Anything else is bonus, but these things have to happen. You want to do that same thing with your calendar on break so that you can get the things that really fill you up, that really recharge you on your calendar. And then you can feel freer to say no to the things that you're like, no, we can pass on that one this year, and leave space in your calendar. So learn to say no. And like some of that comes through just prioritizing what you and your family want to do.
Yeah, like, are we going to really be upset if we miss this one?
Exactly.
Probably not. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you're like, the cookie stroll? No, we can make our own. Like maybe we want to make cookies as a family instead.
Right. Okay. Okay, that's a good one. Okay.
And then I would say you really need to use your calendar even on vacation. Because we think of like all the things that we want to do, and I just suggested you make that list of the things you want to do, but then the day gets away from you. And you're like, we didn't do anything today, which maybe you need a day like that where you just don't do anything. The family stays home. Nobody goes anywhere. Nobody comes over. Nobody even gets dressed for the day. Like you're in PJs all day, doing whatever your family, playing board games, watching movies. But if that's every day, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, we didn't do any of the things we wanted to do. And so make sure that you still schedule and use, like I use a time blocker and block out what I'm going to do. And especially the things that I really want to make sure happen. Like my morning routine, that's a non-negotiable for me, whether I'm working, on a trip, on vacation. There are certain things that are part of my morning routine that help me be my best, whether I'm working or not. And so like, that's my workout. That's my devotional time. Like I'm reading scripture, I'm praying and meditating. I'm doing some personal development. So I'm reading there, making sure that I'm starting my day mentally, physically, and emotionally in the best place.
Nice. Even when you're on a break, even when you're on vacation mode,
you're
still prioritizing your, we'll call it me time.
Yeah. And actually, I was talking to another consultant, and she said she kind of talks that through with her husband. So that, because a lot of times you just want to sleep in and then you skip your morning routine, and then you're like, oh my goodness, and everything just kind of feels rushed. But when she
the kids wake up and they're jumping on your bed, and then it's breakfast time already, and the day started even before you're starting.
Exactly.
Right? Which is typical. So don't get caught up in the whirlwind of not being prepared.
Yeah, exactly. So she talks it out with her husband and says, okay, I'd like to sleep in this morning, but could you take the kids for just like 30 minutes
Right.
so that I can get this time in so I really can be like ready for the day and the best I can be for you and the kids. And that's on a vacation day. So I think it's really important that you still schedule time, and that allows you to prioritize the people you want to spend time with. Like, I really want to have lunch with this person. I really want to make sure that we go to grandma's house and spend some time with her. And so putting those things on your calendar to make sure that they happen, and putting in that recharge time, that like your morning routine, your evening routine, whatever it is that is going to recharge you, refill you. And a lot of those things are really, really simple. It might just be putting, an hour on your calendar to just sit and read a book with a cup of tea. Like, that could be very recharging. It could be blocking out some time to take a walk. You and I both live in like the cold climates. And so, we may have to bundle up for that.
Right. Yeah. I still see people
However,
taking a walk outside. It's those Canadians, man.
I like,
They're unstoppable.
I take a short one in the mornings, and in the cold, I'm like, what am I thinking?
Yeah. Why?
But
Why?
that's, it's such an important time because it gets you out in the fresh air, gets your body moving. Like, those are really important things. So I'd say still use your schedule, prioritize what you want to do, put them on there so that they happen. So that you get to the end of the vacation and you're like, all right, I feel rested, I feel recharged, and I feel like we did the things we wanted to do. And, put the things that like need to happen as well, because we all know cleaning the house doesn't happen during the school year. Like, it happens on the breaks. So, put that on your calendar and break it up of like, all right, today I'm going to tackle the bathrooms. Tomorrow I'm going to tackle dusting.
The dusting. Yes.
I'm like, cleaning the microwave.
Dear.
The things that just sit and they create stress on you because you walk by and you see them and you're thinking, oh, I really need to do that.
That's still on my list. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So like, put that on so you can just knock it out. And I would say put that on in a morning so it's like done and out of the way for the day, and you can enjoy the rest of the day. So your calendar is really important even on vacation.
All right. So you are creating a calendar, obviously, because you have all this time off. I'm very careful to say free time, right? Because there are the obligations, the family obligations and the holiday obligations and the dinners and the events. And so what you want to do is, with your family, with your spouse, with your kids, is to make a calendar for the period.
Yes.
You are allowing your time off. You're allowing your time, your me time. You are also prioritizing the events. Like, some events are non-negotiable, like you said, and some events are, well, they're not going to miss me that much if I don't go. The idea here is you're not taking it day by day. It's not a as it comes, we'll figure it out thing, but it is a plan, and that is how you are going to schedule all the time that you want.
Yes.
Is there anything I can do to re-energize, to regenerate my energy, my stamina, so I can come back in January all sort of pumped up?
Yeah, like ready to go.
Yeah, like September.
Yeah, like feeling energized. One, you've got to work on your sleep. Like, that is number one, is 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And so figuring out how you're going to make that happen while you're on vacation with a different schedule.
Exactly.
That's where that calendar really comes in. And I know there's like, even myself, I feel some resistance to that because I'm like, I am scheduled every single day. I really don't want to be scheduled during vacation. But I also want to be recharged during vacation. And that's where that calendar is really going to help. The sleep one, I just want to mention something on this. This is a tricky one when you're on break. This even happens on the weekends. So we may be really good about managing our sleep during the week of like, all right, I need to be in bed by this time. I have my bedtime routine. But then we hit Friday and Saturday. And we're like, oh, I don't have to be up in the morning. So I can, I can sit and watch a movie. I can, and we stay up later. My question for you is, are you sleeping in long enough to make up for how late you stayed up? Because we think like, all right, I'll get the rest on the weekend. And then you stay up late and you have children who wake you up at 5, 6, 7 in the morning. And so
Mhm.
you're not actually sleeping in. And so actually your weekend isn't a catch up for you on sleep.
You're sleeping less if you
Yeah,
think
you're
about
actually
it.
sleeping less. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like when that dawned on me, I was like, oh my goodness. I
Yeah.
was like, I am losing sleep on the weekends. Like, this is not okay. And it may take you a little while to like come to terms with that.
Mm.
But I've gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? My sleep is important.
Mm.
And I only sleep in so like maybe an extra hour on the weekends because I have other things going on. And so I'm like, I can't stay up an extra 2, 3 hours past what I normally do
Mm.
on the weekends. Like that's not good for me mentally, physically, emotionally. Like I need to have a bedtime on a Friday night. Like there are sometimes when you don't,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. Mm.
you're out
It's
doing things.
Friday, of course. Mm.
But yeah, don't sabotage yourself on
Mm.
sleep on the weekends.
Or on vacation.
Or on vacation. Yeah. Like rest is not just sleep. Like sleep is key. So we need to make sure we're getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. But then those restful activities of, like I mentioned, reading a book and drinking a cup of tea,
Mm.
just sitting and kind of zoning out, not scrolling, sitting and being present. And it
Mm.
can be, sitting and being present with your spouse, your partner, your kids, but just that downtime where your brain can recharge, because we have 3 different brain states. We have recharge, medium charge, and high charge.
Okay,
We
hold on,
think,
hold on, hold on. Okay, this is
oh,
interesting, and I want you to elaborate on this because I
okay.
don't know what you're talking about.
So we've got 3 different brain states. We've got the recharge one. That's like the rest, the sleep, the recharge. We have medium charge. That's where we're doing kind of the boring tasks, checking email, responding. And then we have the high charge where it really takes focus. It's creative. It's when you're working on your lesson plans and creating activities for your students and all of that. That's your high charge work. So a lot of times we think we're recharging or actually medium charge, scrolling, watching Netflix. That's actually medium charge activity. It's not recharge. So recharge is the go take a walk, sit and rest, do creative activities, like hobby type of things that you really enjoy doing.
So it's outputting instead of inputting.
Yeah,
Okay.
like rest can be creative. It can be listening to music, creating music,
Okay.
getting into your hobbies and your creative side, not your work side.
Right.
Creative side. And some of our work is a little bit in that area when you're, I didn't find it restful and recharging to make bulletin boards, but some people,
Some
heaven
people
bless
do.
them.
Yeah. No judgment here. Yeah.
Nope. Have at it, So find that restful time for yourself to really refill yourself, recharge yourself. It doesn't have to be the like typical self-care stuff of like going to the spa, getting a massage, all those things are recharging.
Sure, yeah.
But it can just be that just sitting and being. We really don't do much of that. We have so much information, noise, things coming at us constantly that our brain doesn't get to relax. So it really is helpful to your brain to have time where there is no screen, there is no music of any kind coming in, where you can just have some silence. And I know for some people that's really, really uncomfortable.
It is for me. I need my music.
Yeah, but it's really important for your brain to get that time where it can just process and not have any other information coming in.
That's interesting because if you think about it, you're either on your phone or you're watching TV or you're listening to music.
Yeah.
There's no silent time.
Yeah. I mean, you walk into a store and there's music playing.
Right. That's interesting.
I would challenge you to do some silent driving time.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Turn off the radio, turn off the podcast, turn off music, and just give yourself some silent driving time. That time allows your brain to process and be creative. Going for a walk outside without your earbuds.
Yes.
That movement, being outside, no informational input, really can boost your creativity.
To know. Okay. We are learning a lot today.
Yeah. So, do some of that stuff and then move your body. Find a way to work out. The really cool thing about a workout is a 30-minute workout going for a run, weightlifting, hit, whatever it is that you enjoy, that 30 minutes earns you like an hour of increased productivity and focused energy in the rest of your day. So it's a high return on investment when you're working out.
And I mean, hopefully you are already partaking in that half an hour workout a day. If you're not, this is a good time to get started, right? Challenge yourself to begin, because now you've got the time.
Absolutely. And I mean, rest days are really important in that too. You don't want to be going hard 7 days a week, and rest weeks. So like I usually am on a 3-week cycle of 3 weeks of a program and then a lighter week. That lighter week, that might happen on vacation where your movement is less intense. And so maybe you just do a light ride on a bike. We have a stationary bike. You might make it walks. You might make it playing with your kids. So you're still getting that active time. It's just a little less intense on your body.
Okay.
So we want to get the movement in. We also want to work on that nutrition piece. That is huge.
The holidays is a
the holidays are so
of all
hard.
time, of all the time to like work on your nutrition.
Right.
The holidays.
But Christmas Eve is a day. Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, Hanukkah is going on right now. There are a few others that I can't come up with off the top of my head, but they're days. They are days. And you get to choose what you put in your body. And so enjoy, grandma's French silk chocolate pie. Like have a slice. Like I am going
guilty delight.
Right. I'm going to enjoy Christmas Eve with my family, and everybody in my family is a good cook. So there's not a bad dish on the counter. I'm going to enjoy Christmas Day at my brother's house, where there is an entire table of appetizers. And then there's mac and cheese and there's Christmas chicken and spinach and rice and chicken wings. I'm going to enjoy those things. However, I'm going to make sure I have a really good solid breakfast. I'm not going to skip breakfast on those days. I'm going to make sure that I'm getting protein and veggies in, that I'm fueling my body so I feel good walking in to those events, but not starving, because that's when you overindulge and then you're like,
yes,
oh my goodness, what did I just do to myself?
The story of my life. Yeah.
Right. So I'm still going to have a really good breakfast on those days. I'm going to make sure I get my workout in. And then the days either side of that, I'm going to make sure that I'm fueling my body well, making sure I'm getting protein at every meal, making sure that I'm getting good fruits and veggies, fiber-filled carbs, things like that, that make me feel my best. And I tell you, don't step on the scale the day after Christmas.
Why do that to yourself? Yeah.
Do not do that. Don't play those mind games with yourself.
Right.
Know that a lot of, if you do step on, it is going to be up. You did not gain 5 pounds overnight. You didn't. A lot of that is inflammation. So give it a couple of days for your body to just settle back down, release the inflammation, come back to its baseline to where you're feeling good again, then step on the scale. But don't mess with yourself like that. You just don't need to do that. So we need to fuel our bodies. We need to be moving them. We need to be sleeping, and you've got to be hydrating. Running on caffeine and carbs, it's not a badge of honor, folks. You need water, right? We wear running on caffeine and carbs, and I'm so stressed, like a badge of honor.
You're right. Yeah.
And it's not. We can do better. So make sure, first thing in the morning, before you have I'm not telling you not to drink your coffee, because I like my coffee, but start your day with a glass of water, because you have just slept however many hours you're sleeping right now with no hydration. So you're waking up dehydrated. So start with a glass of water while your coffee brews. Okay. You can still have your coffee. Drink water throughout the day. Water is really, really important for our bodies and for our brains. Our brains need to be properly hydrated in order for us to think clearly. When we're dehydrated, we cannot think well. Just think of a plant, and I've heard this in multiple different places, but we're basically a house plant with complicated emotions. We need water, we need food, we need sunshine. Right. So drink your water. If you can't stand plain water, that's fine. Add some electrolytes. The electrolytes are going to help you actually absorb that hydration and take it in. The sciencey people will love this. it creates the right concentration so that it's not hypertonic and hypotonic. We want it isotonic with our cells so that our cells can take it in. But adding electrolytes is really going to help you with your hydration. And then throwing in some fruit, like frozen fruit, throw it in your water. It'll add a little flavor to it without adding a whole lot of calories to it. You want to watch out for like the things that have a lot of sweetener, a lot of chemicals in them, because you're wanting to get the hydration, not the calories and the chemicals.
Sweet, right. That is a good plan. It takes care of the food and the drinking and the hydration and the sleep and the work and all that. But I do want to end on this. We have had an abnormally stressful year so far, with the wars going on and the tragedy on the TV and on the social media and just constant bombardment of negativity. I want to know over the holidays, how I could sort of unplug and just, again, regenerate, but my emotional side, right? Not my physical side. Physical side, I got it. My emotional side, my like mental side. How do I just sort of chill out and, regenerate that side of me?
Yep. You have to become the curator of your life. And so that's curating your social media. There's this fabulous function on pretty much any social media platform where you can silence, hide, block, or mute. And you need to use it. Anything that gets you into a negative spiral, block it, get rid of it. I know there are some people that you can't necessarily block because they're family members and you're like, but like they're family.
Right.
Hide them. They'll never know.
Right.
Okay. So really curate your feed. And I've been pretty ruthless on this. I'm like, yeah, no, that's putting me in a spiral. Gone. And there's an option also on a lot of things that pop out in your feed to say, show me less of this.
Right.
I don't want to see this, because there are things that just randomly pop up and you're like, oh my goodness, why am I looking at this?
Yeah.
So curate your social media, turn off the news, because we know it really is true. If it bleeds, it leads, and it's negative. It's just so, like, some of it is so heartbreaking. And I don't want us to be ignorant of what's going on in our world.
That is where I get confused. Like, I want to know what's going on, but at the same time, I don't want to carry that weight when I do watch it.
So you turn it off. And the amazing thing is you'll still know exactly what's going on because people will tell you because they're watching it. And then you're able to choose what you go see and learn about because you've turned it off. And you're like, oh, they just told me that this happened. All right, I need to know about that. I go read about it, listen, whatever you do.
Right.
And then I turn it off and I go back to my life. So you really control what's coming at you. And then some other things when you're dealing with those things is journaling is a great process to use to help you when you're dealing with those things. You have seen what's going on. You have been reading or watching. Just taking some time to journal out all that's in your head, the act of taking what's here in your head and physically writing, not typing, physically writing it on paper, frees your brain and takes that weighty feel out of your head. This can be a really good activity to do right before you go to bed, because that's when all the thoughts start swirling. Like, this has been going on and this, and it's all weighing on me. And then I have this thing in the family and that, and I need to remember to do this. Journaling at night can really free up your brain and allow you to go to sleep faster. So I'd say make sure that and I'm not a journaler type of person. I'm like not a natural journaler. Like, some people just love it and, go right into it. It's not my major thing, but when my mind is swirling, it is so helpful. And then find people. So we're talking about kind of curating your social media. You also need to curate your people. Who is closest to you? Are you allowing all of the energy suckers and joy suckers to have constant access to you? Like, who is your closest circle? And really work on curating who you're spending time with and who you can talk with that will help you process all of this, but won't jump in the muck and the mire with you. So you really want to curate your social media, get rid of the news, journal, curate the people around you and find people that you can process with of like, can I just talk through this for a few minutes and then we'll move on to something else? But I just need to, because some of us are verbal processors.
Yes, right.
And really need to be able to talk things through. Find somebody you can talk it through with who's going to just kind of think logically through it with you. They're not going to jump in with you. And then you're able to move on to, all right, let's talk about, what's going on with the kids, how's Aunt so-and-so doing and get into that. So you need to find your processors as well.
Not easy.
No.
Especially if you're used to a certain way of life, a certain routine, okay, let's turn on the news, see what's going on in the world. And so, curating all that is tricky. It's tough.
It is. And so you bring your family in on it with you of like, hey, can you help me with this? I'm trying this out and I want to see how it goes. Can you remind me like, hey, mom, hey, dad, you said you weren't going to watch this. Oh, your kids are great at keeping you honest.
Right.
If you ask for their help, they will help you, bring the family in on it and make it fun and find something to replace that with.
Sure.
So, instead of turning on the news, grab a great book. Like this is a great time to catch up on some fiction or even some nonfiction. I've got a stack of way too many books sitting over there. Grab a great book to read, something you've been wanting to get into, step out of PD for a little bit. Like we're always reading like how to be a better teacher, how to do, classroom management, all of this. I'm reading Murder in the White House. So I'm reading a fiction book right now and getting out of like that PD a little bit. And then I have my kind of personal development book that I'm reading too. That's The Language of Breath. So developing myself and my breathing techniques and all of that. So, maybe you start reading some again or working on a puzzle, like pull out a puzzle and work on that.
Right.
That's it. That's a great activity to do as a family because everybody can get in on it. And the discussions you have when you're working on that, be amazed at what your kids are willing to talk about.
Let's get talking again, right? Yeah. I like that one. If I want additional help or if I want to chat with you or, reach out to you, how do I find you? How do I reach out to you?
Absolutely. So my email is therecoveringeducator@gmail.com. So you can reach out right there. I will give you a link for the show notes for my 5 foundations to fight stress.
Nice.
A great tool for everybody. And we've talked about these here today, but these are my 5 foundations, some tips in there of how to work on these, what you should focus on. I'll give you the link for that. That's a great place for people to start. It's a PDF. They can download it. They can print it out, stick it up on the wall and be like, I'm working on this one today.
It is such a pleasure talking to you. I appreciate you as a mentor and a friend and a legendary educator.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here and just have an opportunity to share this with your audience.
That's our show for today. Share this episode with your teacher friends who might benefit from listening to it. Don't forget to rate this episode and subscribe. I'm Ram Stakawi, and this is Legendary Educator. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you next time.